Good afternoon, I'm Mr. Nikezi. I'm going to go over what we talked about today in Social Studies 20. So today we talked about the American Revolution. And so the American Revolution, similar to the French Revolution, was in many ways spurred on by Enlightenment ideas. Some of the key players, some of the major players that we talked about today was obviously the 13 colonies who were opposed to the increased taxation without representation. Britain, which was so focused on increasing American taxes because they had to pay for the 7 Years' War. And so in order to make up the money that they lost and spent in this conflict, they began to tax the Americans a whole lot more. We also see France play a bit of a minor role in it because they do engage with Britain in the 7 Years' War. And even during the American Revolution, we have some French support for the American Revolution, as we talked about previously, about why France was so bankrupt. So the American Revolution is quite interesting because we have Britain trying to increase taxes on the colonies in order to pay for the conflict, the 7 Years' War, and other expenses that Britain has spent. And we have the Americans who believe essentially their famous slogan, no taxation without representation. And they start to see instances such as the Boston Massacre, in which 5 to 7 people are killed. And eventually the Boston Tea Party, where the American colonists, the Sons of Liberty, dress up as indigenous people and they throw tea into the harbor as a sign of protest. And so we talked about why this pivotal point in American history at times is controversial, because for some people, when they look at American history, they don't see themselves in it, or they see themselves playing a periphery role, such as people of color. Some of the key things that I need you guys to know for tomorrow is the Stamp Act and the Sugar Act. What the Sugar Act did was essentially it decreased taxes on sugar, but it enforced collections, where previously collections were not enforced. The Stamp Act essentially made that things had to be printed on specialty paper, and that was taxed. And what that did was it increases the price for everything for the colonists, and they rebel. That famous line, no taxation without representation. So please go over some of your notes, just a few key ideas we talked about today, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.